Power Up Gaming, the only destination you need for retro video games, consoles, and accessories. Want access to exclusive specials? Like us on Facebook.
Thanks for watching. This is just another portion of our repair series, and this is something that's probably covered already, but I figured it kind of continues on with what I've already started. What we're going to be covering is for the Game Boy Advance, and it's actually battery changes in the Game Boy Advance games. And typically it kind of targets the Pokemon games. And what we're really talking about is the Emerald and the Sapphire games. Those are the ones that do take the batteries, and they have time-based functions in the actual game, where the game keeps track of time outside of the game itself. And that's really what kills the batteries in them. You can save the games. This games actually save onto a chip on the actual board itself. It doesn't actually save using the battery, unlike a lot of the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy original games do. So you can actually play this without the battery or without a working battery, but it will give you the warning that the battery is actually drained, and it recommends that you end up getting it replaced. So we will talk about that. Now, the one thing I will mention is that you do need a tri-wing screwdriver in order to open up the Game Boy Advance games. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, we'll go to this. So, and that's going to be hard. Let's go to the zoomed in. Okay, so this is a tri-wing screwdriver. Basically, rather than a Phillips, which has a plus sign, this is actually only 3 wings on it, so it's a tri-wing. So there's 3 sides to it, where a Phillips screwdriver actually has 4 sides to it, like a plus sign. So that's what you're going to be needing to actually open up the Game Boy Advance games. So yeah, we do sell them at the store here if you do need one. We also do battery changes out of the store here. So if you just can't be bothered changing it out yourself, you don't have a soldering iron, we do battery changes here. And I didn't get a battery out, so I will get that out in a minute, so I apologize for having to leave the camera in a minute, but we'll get started. So, first off, so it's just one little tri-wing screw to open it up. Actually, let me just, I think I can just rotate this, sorry. Nope, wrong one. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to rotate that 180 degrees. That's going to work a lot better. Means up is up and down is down. Okay. Rather than me being upside down for you guys. Okay. So, things being a bugger. So when you actually open this up, once you take the screw out, what you're going to do is just slide the case open. Rather than just pull it open at that point, you got to slide it open. So slide it down, and then pull it open to get it open. Now this is actually an aftermarket battery that's in there. I'm just going to check the voltage on it. I'm going to change this one out regardless, but we always do check the voltage. If it's over 3 volts, we tend to leave it, just because that means it is a pretty new battery in it. These batteries start at about 3.3 volts. And yeah, this one's pretty much dead. It's sitting at 0.3 volts. So I didn't show that on camera, but it's sitting at 0.3 volts. So it definitely needs to be changed. But this one is not an original battery. It has been changed out. The issue with these ones, because they are time-based events that this thing is actually saving, these batteries tend not to last a huge amount of time. They're not even as old as the Game Boy, you know, the Game Boy original games, the gold and the silvers and the crystals and all those, and they're already dying. So they do need to be replaced on a regular basis. But as I said, you're not saving the save game onto it, so it's not a big deal. So we're just gonna remove this leg here. I'm not quite sure why it's Really had a hard time actually melting the solder there, which was unusual. I've never seen such large tabs on a battery. Those tabs are huge. But anyways, doesn't make a difference. But yeah, those tabs are absolutely huge. And there's a lot of solder left on the board itself. What I'm going to do is, like I did on the Game Boy original, I'm just going to get rid of the excess solder that's on the board, and we'll start out fresh. Because it looks like they used the original. As you can tell, it's not shiny, which usually means it's actually the non-leaded solder that's on there, which is the original solder that they would have used from the very beginning, which the other person would have just reused. I like using the leaded solder. It has a lower melting point. Nice shiny, it leaves a nice shiny solder work afterwards. It's more rewarding. Almost seems like it's something other than non-leaded. Like the melting point's really, really high on this solder. Like some kind of synthetic. Doesn't want to melt easy, that's for sure. Melting my my table here, just because it's applying that much heat to actually get rid of that solder. That is so interesting. Even leaded solder melts a hell of a lot easier than that stuff. It's wild. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a battery here. Down below. And as I did with the other ones, I'm just going to check the voltage on it just to make sure. Sometimes when they're shipped to me, they get shifted around in the actual container, and I just want to make sure that the battery I'm putting in there actually has the proper voltage, so I'm not wasting my time. And that battery is reading 3.3 volts, so it's perfect. Again, just perfectionist, so I like to double and triple check my work before I actually do it, so that I don't have to do it again. Okay, so the same thing goes for this that I did with the other one. What you're going to be doing is, this is the positive. It says so right there. This side is the negative. It says right there. So you want to make sure that you know which side is the positive and which side is the negative. And as you can tell, when you actually put the battery on there, it sits up high. So what we need to do is make sure that the points actually make contact with the pads themselves. Right now they're not, and I'm sure it's a little harder to see there, but if I turn it sideways, you can probably see there's quite a bit of spacing there. So what I typically do is I'm going to grab my needle nose pliers, which are hiding somewhere. There they are. So just a small set of needle nose pliers, and actually I'm going to just change my bench shot for a minute. A small set of needle nose pliers, and what I typically do, which is going to be very hard to show on camera I think, is I just kind of grab the end. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do it and then I'll show it on the on my close-up camera here, and I'll show you what I do here. Okay, so this tends to work the best for me. What I tend to do is bend down the arms like that. That one can even come down so it's sitting flat. So I tend to bend down the arms. It gives me lots of room. It'll allow me to make contact with the actual pads, so that when I lay it down, as you can see, I'm now hovering above, that if I push down on the battery, the pads actually make contact with the, or the arms actually make contact with the pads. So that makes me happy, and I can actually just adjust that one out a bit and adjust that one out a bit. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is actually get one of the arms down, and the one I'm going to get down first is actually the negative side, just because that side is going to be closest to the actual pins, which is these pins across here. So I'm just going to get that one soldered down first, and it's the one that's sitting down nice and flush. So what I typically do is just load up the actual pad with solder. And then once the pad's loaded up with solder, I kind of put my battery into position. Hold it until the solder dries or solidifies. Then go around to the other side. And as you can tell, I've got those arms pushed out of place pretty good there. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side here. So I'm going to load up the pad here with solder. Then I'm just going to push the arm down. Wait for that to solidify. And I'm good to go. So then we just finish off. Again, perfectionist, you don't need to do this step. I just always like to do it because then I can be proud of my work. You can go through. Clean up your solder points, all the flux and everything that's on those solder points. And then the last thing, since you already have it open anyways, just clean up those contact points on the game itself so that we know it reads perfectly. So these games are actually not a customer's games. These are our games that we sell in-house. We go through every single one of these games, make sure the batteries are perfect. If they're not, we change out the batteries with brand new ones. It's something we've always done, something we'll always do. We want to make sure that every game we sell is absolutely perfect for our customers. So, okay, that's it. Then we grab our screw. So I know there's a whole bunch of these on the internet, of these tutorials. Hopefully this one helps you out with yours. As mentioned, I mean, you don't need the tri-wing, you don't need the soldering iron and everything else. Us or any other local game store, for the most part, will do this for you. We don't charge much. I think it's $7.50 to change out the battery. That includes the time, the labor, the battery, and everything else. Means you don't have to buy the screwdriver or anything, and we can usually do it while you wait. So any questions, comments, put it down below. Please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching. Talk to you later.